I'm hearing a lot about the supposedly unhackable security on the Nintendo Switch 2, and I haven't learned everything I'd like to know about electrical engineering. I'm still kind of, you know, studying math and everything, but what got me about this was just, obviously a mod chip route is going to be the necessarily best way to go about doing this. But what killed me about it was that I was hearing about this console. I'm holding one in my hand now. That they were isolating things and like sensitive processes onto a coprocessor that it was kind of like a one-way flow, where information came into it, but it didn't come back out, except if it was like through the only point of exit that the system, and that was controlled entirely by that system that didn't allow anything other than the data that it wanted in and rejected anything else, and only put the data that it let allow out back into the rest of the system via the coprocessor that was isolated from the rest of the system and everything, and put in a secure memory space. But that got me because it just hit my brain, that you can intercept electrical signals if you put something between them. The hardware can be employed to sense, capture, and analyze these signals without direct contact or by minimally invasive means. This can involve using oscilloscopes, logic probes, inductive sensors, or even creating conductive paths through conductive adhesive. In more advanced scenarios, special devices like spectrum analyzers and vector network analyzers, or even AI powered signals, can be used for more complex analysis. You have inductive probes that are wrapped around a conductor and detect the magnetic field that are produced by the current, inducing a measurable signal. And you're able to use oscilloscopes and logic probes and analyzers to absorb signals without significantly putting a major load on the circuit of the system in the first place. And through processes like this, you would you would basically be able to do signals analysis and analyze the functionality of devices, diagnose issues, or identify potential vulnerabilities in the system. And what got me about hearing that there's this coprocessor that handles all the sensitive processes on the Switch 2 was that, at least if all the processes were handled by the regular processor, then you have to separate out the signal from the noise. You have to find a way to tell what isn't relevant to security and what is, and everything, and to filter the irrelevant bits of data out. But once you've got everything isolated onto a coprocessor, well, that's especially vulnerable from an electrical standpoint, because that then you already know, if you've intercepted something from it, that it's almost always and invariably important information, and it's all signal. So if we know where the pinouts are for the coprocessor, and we know where it is and what pins connect to it and everything, then you can put an oscilloscope or a logic probe you know on it that will basically intercept that signal, and will start enabling you to do analysis on what it's doing, and on the basis of the signals that it's sending, it will tell you, it could essentially end up leaking the encryption keys to you. It'll do it in binary format, but still it's doing it, through its process. It's telling you, you know, what you need to know about it. And this can be, reconstructed into ASCII or whatever format, it is that it's conducted in, and before you know it, you've dumped the encryption keys as a consequence of this process. I mean, this is stupid. Supposedly, this is a security upgrade, but it's like, do you guys know anything about electrical engineering? No, I don't know everything there is to know about circuits. I definitely need to learn more, but I can tell you that, a logic probe could definitely be extremely relevant here towards hacking the switch.